Banderacon, Captain's Log. I'm going to start off a little mini-series on Doom. Now, I'm going to more or less jump to Doom 2016, but before I do, I was a kid when Doom came out, and it's never really been part of my mental makeup. I know it's a big deal for a lot of people, usually a little bit older than me, who had it as their first proper game and they cut their teeth on it. I know it was a massive landmark in gaming history, one of the first properly kind of more moddable open source games. I even remember reading things in my dad's old PC Gamer magazine about certain ways people would play games, basically inventing game modes in the game without having to change anything. One would be like 9 players have fists only and one person has all the guns, and obviously the 9 players have to try and mob the one lone gunman. It was never really a part of my growing up in that sense. It wasn't something I really particularly liked. I've tried to play them later down the line, and I'm going to be honest, partially just because I'm terrible with finding my way with things, it was never something that particularly interested me. But that all turned around when Doom 2016 came in. Now, let's just get it all out of the way. Doom is hype as fuck. The main tagline, up until the later ones, which we'll get into in another episode, was basically, man too angry to die takes on the entirety of hell, and is so angry that hell had to find a way to put him on ice for a few centuries, and then spent the rest of the time ferociously guarding it against intrusion, because, oh lordy, they do not want him coming back. Plot was perfect. Everything about that particular way of phrasing Doom and that way of introducing it, just loved every second of it. The logs were perfect. It set the story perfectly, and it's probably one of the more enjoyable things that got lost a little bit later on. At the time, it was furious and fast, and just this wonderful kind of dual-wielding melee carnage of just moves and counter moves, and it was just wonderful. The soundtrack, if I remember correctly, is Mick Gordon, is incredible. The BFG 9000 is still one of the greatest murderific anthems you could play. If you ever want to lift heavy, chuck that on the background and see how your bench press goes up a few notches. And I mean, they chose everything about that game so perfectly. Like the supporting staff, you had the robot Samuel Hayden, I think it was, as the kind of angel on the shoulder / supporting cast member with his own agenda. And then they had that other person who turns into the Mother Spider Brain, who I completely forgot the name of, as the foil, and she was serviceably evil. There's only one thing that game lacked that was made up for, I think, in later games, which was suitably grotesque and badass boss fights. So Doom 2016, I think, had the Cyber Demon, which was alright. I think you fought him twice, once on Earth, once on Mars, not on Earth, once on Mars and once in Hell. And I don't remember it being all that really good. I kind of felt it should have been a bit like later things where they had just a lot more hit points, because you could just grind through them within, I'd say, 60 seconds or less. The final boss had a bit more going on, and it made more use of the verticality, though give credit where credit's due. This was kind of new. They were really going through sort of uncharted territory, at least as far as the Doom games go, and you can't hate on them because they put together everything else absolutely perfect. Like, it's a 10 out of 10 game, really only upstaged in any way, shape or form by the sequel. I will say that was one of the better aspects of the first game, is that, I say first, I'm talking about 2016, don't have a cow. The better aspect is that they left things deliberately unknown. When you start to over-explain certain aspects of it, you lose that mystery, and it just becomes less interesting. There's that X factor that's generated by the unconscious part of our minds, where the unknown will always be infinitely more appealing than the known. Now, yeah, Doom 2016 had all the right moves in all the right places, and it just let you create your own reasons. Was the Doom Marine the same one from the original 3-4 games? Was it someone else? Was it multiverse theory? Who cared? You got to have your own explanation. I think that was perfect. I will say it also started the trend, at least through the other games, of having some really quite righteous goddamn weaponry. The basic assault rifle, which usually in most portrayals of games felt like an Uzi SMG type thing, basically felt like a shoulder-lifted 50 cal. Like heavy rounds, heavy impacts. The sniper function also was quite meaty. The minigun was in absolutely fine form, especially in the deployable turret mode. It's absolutely fucking delicious. The only thing I'd say is I was never really a fan of the rocket launcher. I just felt that it didn't feel a niche for me, but each to their own. Shotgun was in fine form, as always, and having that first option of the explosive mode one was... I think we all picked the explosion mode just for the first one. I'd also say like a little addition of the upgrade system was a nice, albeit unconventional addition to the Doom game. I mean, did we really expect some kind of upgradable skill tree? I'd say skill tree-ish, but it worked, and if it works, then it requires no explanation. And it was something that was carried over to later games, though I think it was maybe slightly more better refined upon in the way that it was done. And that is all for part 1. I am going to do Doom Eternal and Doom Eternal: The Ancient Gods a little bit later. Call for action, right? If you have a bookshelf, close your eyes, point randomly at thing, and read the book that you just found yourself pointing at. Right, bye.